Okay, so we are recording. Again, we just talked about build people as our culture item for those of you who missed. We have a lot of people that are out today, so I need you that are here to really help so we can have a good discussion for those who are going to be listening later on. So I appreciate any input or participation or engagement that you can bring forth. Before we get started on that, though, I wanted to have Kyle, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of explain the new survey thing, Kyle, and tell everybody why we're doing this today, or we're doing this from now on as well.
Absolutely. We put a new survey out there as hopefully all of you have seen. And it's based on what's called the Kirkpatrick model. You can look that up. The Kirkpatrick model is a way to do deeper evaluations on training programs. Essentially, normally what happens in a training or a seminar or whatever is after the seminar they get a reaction to that training. They like to see how people, if they enjoyed the training and if it was helpful, et cetera, et cetera. That's the reaction level. And we would like to evaluate to see if this goes deeper, if we are learning relevant things, which I know we are, and how we take those relevant things and apply them to our job. If we're teaching others the things that we're learning, ultimately, does it change our behavior at work? Do these trainings change the way we handle our jobs, and is it taking us to the next level? Does that learning and behavior change lead to results? And are these trainings improving our results at work? And ultimately, I guess the final thing is there an ROI on the training? We spend a good amount on these trainings, about $30,000 a year if we just took an hour a week and summed up all the salary put into this away from other productivity, right? And so we really want to see that there's a return on that. Now, that's a really tough thing to just up and measure. But if all the other pieces are in place, if we are enjoying the training, if we're taking that and we're learning from it and teaching others, if that changes our behavior at work in a meaningful way, that we can produce results, and ultimately that will lead to a return on our investment here. And we want to survey that. And so I encourage all of you to go in and take the survey and respond to the questions that we've put out there. We want this to be meaningful. We also want to learn for ourselves how we can improve the training, and ultimately this leads to great results for the company.
So Kyle, is that going to replace the other survey? We'll just have the one.
This one will go out monthly. We may continue to do the weekly reactions level.
So I think that's a really good point, that the survey you've been doing is really kind of a judge or a reflection on the class itself, the training itself, which helps us to understand, are you guys feeling good about it, and what can we change, if anything, and how can we improve? The other one really is designed to help you guys, like what's happening. Are you able to use the material? Motivation only goes for about 2 weeks. You're motivated from something like this or a Tony Robbins seminar, whatever, for about 2 weeks, and then it's gone. Unless you do something with it, set up an action plan or whatever, then those things are going to be gone, and you will have spent money to get motivated for 2 weeks, and then and then nothing comes of it. So that's really the point behind this, is that we can utilize the material. Obviously, this is important for all of us, and we want to make the best of it and use it to improve the lives of the people that we that we manage, and that we improve the lives of ourselves. So we appreciate what Kyle and Maria will be sending out, and again, let's be really transparent and honest about it, and see where it takes us, and use the material as we do the homework. So today we're going to talk again. We've got quite a few people that are not on, so we need participation from those of you who are on. I know people are. I have a number of people who are sick, and others who have got meetings this morning that have asked to be excused, and some maybe on vacation since it's a holiday weekend. So be ready for the 4th of July celebration. But today, let's talk a little bit about, this is really one of my favorite chapters in all of the stuff that we do. I think it's so important as we talk about this. So let me just ask a couple of questions. Let's just take a general, kind of survey here. How many of you feel like you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep, roughly? Sorry, Techie. Techie gets 10. Is that what it is? Now, some of you, who have small kids or babies, you're probably not going to get as many hours of sleep. But on average, most people are getting 7 to 8 hours, roughly. How many hours a day do you think you spend at work? Give me some ideas. Share with me what you're roughly doing at work.
My part, I will say about 50 to 60 every
50 to
week.
60 per week. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Others? 40 to 50. Okay. Let's just say, because it varies, right? We are typically working 8 hours a day. And some of you are going to work more than that. I get that. Sometimes it's not always that way, but there are times when it really is that way. And you probably, I don't know how many of you go home for lunch and spend time with your family during lunch hour. Anybody? So you're really away from home for at least 9 hours a day, right? So we got 9 hours a day. Let's just say 7 hours of sleep. And so we've got, what's that? 16 hours. And then it takes an hour, hour and a half. Some maybe take 2 hours to get ready in the morning. You get home and you have dinner. So there's prep time, there's eating time, there's cleanup time. So you don't get a whole lot of time to spend with your family. You have a few hours in the evening before you go to bed and start it all over again. And so you spend a lot of time, a majority of the time, working with this group. And imagine, as we talk about the beginning of this book, what is it in the very beginning, the very first 3 words? If you've got your book, the very first 3 words, what does it say in the book?
Work is hard.
In this chapter. Say that again, Jason.
Work is hard.
Work is hard. Isn't that what we all believe? Work is hard. Every day it's stressful. Every day is tough. And life just kind of rolls on, just like that. Every day is hard. Is that a true statement, do you think? Is that a general statement in the world of work, in general, that work is hard?
That's a general statement. I mean, some days it's hard, some days it's not. Some days it fluctuates. It depends on what's going on throughout the day.
Uh-huh.
So it's not always hard and it's not always easy.
Okay.
So I think that's a general statement.
Yeah.
It depends on your attitude towards the work. 2 people can be doing the same thing, And one person will enjoy it because their attitude is different, and the other person would hate it because their attitude is ugly. So
Yeah, and it can be attitude. It can be a number of things, right, Techie? Of why somebody might enjoy it and why somebody might not. It's it's really important for us to look at work, and I think that we all work for different reasons. But tell me why you work, Ashley Labrum. Why do you work?
Bills to pay, yeah. But why do I specifically work here and do this? Because I really like people and I like feeling fulfilled at work and interacting with people.
What kind of people? Like I hear that statement a lot. So let me just rephrase, because people always say, especially in sales, they go, "Oh, I like sales because I love people." Well, do you love all kinds of people? Do you love working with, the analyticals when you're in sales? I mean, what kind of people is it? Because maybe it's not at all people. Not that you don't love all people, but love working with all people. Maybe it's certain kinds of people. What be a little more specific on that?
So for me, I don't love sales. So I don't have that going for me. But I like different people. I like coming from different backgrounds and interactions and seeing what people bring to the table. I like lighting people up and finding what they enjoy doing and helping connect people's strengths with other people's strengths that are complementary. That sort of stuff for me is what working with people is. I don't want to sell to people. I'm not any good at that, but I do like helping people grow.
Yeah. Well, again, this is just an old phrase. Everybody is in sales. You're in
Right.
sales because, sales is nothing more than finding out what the other person wants and helping them to get it. Um, so it's not so much that you don't like sales. You don't like certain kind of sales, but you are selling, that particular thing. So, Jason, what's your comment?
Yeah, I think we enjoy like-minded people. Like we have the same goals, we have the same vision. I think that's what we try to create here at Smart is that we have our culture pieces that we're all working towards the same goal and to enjoy it. And just like we read at the first, to have fun. So that's and then make a little bit of money while we're doing it. So I
Yeah,
think that's kind of what it's about.
yeah, absolutely. John?
Yeah, I agree with Jason. But what I was going to say is when you said what type of people, I always hear that stuff. I think that everybody's got different strengths, and working with different types of people generate different types of ideas. You can hit the target from several locations, right? And so talking to everybody and just making sure that you hear everybody's point of view can help you narrow down how to get that target down as quickly as possible. You know what I'm saying? So I like working with all kinds of people. And to the earlier point, sometimes to me, when it comes to work and in enjoying spending time with people, is because I like to figure out or figure them out. And I guess that makes me a little bit better when it comes to talking to clients because I like to figure them out. And that way I can, uh, I don't know, it make their, because I'm offering a service, right? And I believe wholeheartedly that what we do will make their company better. And so figuring them out in a way to talk to them in a way that they understand it is kind of part of the fun for me. So
Yeah. Yeah, so that's part of why you like to work. So, Techie?
what's really funny is they for the exact same reason why Ash Labron loves work is the same reason why I love sales, right? It's because it's everything about sales is relationship building, problem solving, and finding solutions for people. And the only difference between operations and sales is your front facing customer. Whereas my front facing customers is new people outside the business, whereas operations is their internal customers is their colleagues and other employees. And that's why I love work. It is for those reasons. It's problem solving, it's relationship building, it's getting people from where they are today to where they want to be. And that's what motivates me. It's kind of like what John said too. I like to figure out a complex problem, and if there's a problem that someone has that I can solve, I can bring them to a solution, either through making a connection or giving them value from a solution that I currently can give them. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, what it's important for us to start looking at, you know, what this looks like for us. The staffing industry in and of itself is a very in general, it is a very stressful, sometimes very long hours. It's been known for that kind of to be that kind of industry. Doesn't mean it's always that way or that we have to make it that way, but that's just in general what it is. You know, if you're on the operations side, calls come in, you get an order, you've got to get it filled by tomorrow morning or this afternoon, and all hands are on deck, and we can't leave until it gets filled, and we're going to be eating dinner here tonight, and I'm ordering pizza, and I mean, all of those things happen. That's part of this, you know, this style that we live in, this job that we live in. So sometimes we ask the question when we get into, you know, this chapter, you know, the headline, what's the headline of the chapter?
Work-life balance matters most.
And that is what? A lie, right?
A lie, yep.
A lie. Is true balance between work and life, is that really, you know, something that can be a reality? What do you think? Balance. I mean, it's got to be, you know, exactly balanced.
I guess it could be, but I got twins. I got to get out of the house.
So work is escape for you, John.
There you go.
So, you know, basically balance is really hard. It's not an easy thing. And we spend so much time. I want to read something else. Give me just a second to pull it up here. So, let's see. As we're talking about, you know, work and that sort of thing, this is from Ted. My belief is that we are required to work, and it is very good for us to work. Okay, good. But as a company, we're capturing your time and mind share for at least 8 hours a day, and that's a huge piece of your life. So my hope is that we can design a work environment that makes you better and that sends you home to your loved ones and your other passions with your energy filled, your life skills improved, and your knowledge increased, versus being drained and discouraged. Now, Ted's on the call, but he's open to, you know, thoughts and ideas. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that statement?
I agree with it. I think it's hard to have other passions and things outside of work if you are drained every single day you come home. You're not going to have that energy to put into your family or into music or whatever your passion is. You're not going to have the ability to do it because you're completely drained.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
I mean, you will have your days when you work more than others, right? Jason said at the beginning, some days are easy, some days are hard. But what I think what the message that Ted is saying is if you create a work environment where you feel stimulated, it doesn't have to be, it talks about, you know, 50, 60 hours. Sometimes that happens. There's weeks where we work 60 hours. There's other weeks where we perform at 40 or maybe 30. But we're doing the best work that we can, right? And so
Mhm.
creating a stimulating work environment that doesn't drain you completely of energy when you get home, you appreciate the things that you have and other interests that you might have. And also, I believe that mission statement has permeated itself through the company because our PTO policy, right, came to reflect that in the long run. And leadership, it has trickled down to the leadership where we know our people. I think we all manage people here, and we know when they need a break. We know when they need time off. We know when we can maximize their output, and we also know when they need a break. So I think
Correct.
that it's not a balance of work life. We're all in the same. We have the same downtime as we have the same working time. It's more work life balance in the sense that we feel fulfilled in both. Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, very good. Thank you, John. Maddie, can you had and then I'll come back to Kyle and Techie. If you can, if you're okay to say what you were going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna just second pretty much exactly what John just said. But it's crazy to me how some days when you feel really fulfilled in your job and you're really enjoying what you do, maybe you have a really good interaction with a client that day, how you feel so energized and you're like, I could go out to dinner with my family, my spouse, I could stay out till 10 or 11 tonight and I'm not going to be tired. And then there's days when you have really bad interactions with clients or candidates and you're like, I need to be in bed by 7, I'm completely drained. And I just think to exactly what John was saying, not every day is going to be the same, but as long as you have a good mix of the two, that's when I feel like you have a good work-life balance, because you're not going to have a perfect day every single day, but hopefully you can have a few good days in your week, in your month, and that's where you get your fulfillment from your job.
So we don't have perfect days every week. Oh my gosh.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
It might be boring. I think you hit it. You guys hit it. It's that challenge that comes, and things are different, which is kind of great. So, Kyle?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that work-life balance, or whatever you want to call this, is more of a. I guess the question is a time. It's not a time thing. Like I spend this much time at work and this much time at home. It's more of a fulfillment thing. And I think if we're under the assumption that work sucks and home life is amazing, then then you're probably in the wrong thing for one thing. And need to find some more fulfillment in life. I think it's more just about, is life fulfilling in all of its aspects, home life, work life. If life is fulfilling, one is going to be happy and pleased with that, and it's not really a balance thing. Of course, there are things we have to do. I mean, it's not fun to fight unemployment claims, things like that. But so we still have to take out the trash at home, and there are things that we have to do anyway that we might consider not our favorite thing to do, or but I really look at life as, are we on a quest or is it burdensome? I mean, that's a really good question. Is this a quest or is this a burden? If it's a burden, then find something else that's more fulfilling. If it's a quest, then it's not really a time thing, like how much time am I here and how much time am I there, sort of thing. And I think that's something that we've really got to find, is that we're on a quest. And if we're not on a quest, we got to go find that quest somewhere else.
Yeah, I like that. Techie?
Yeah, just going along that thought of this idea of fulfillment and where it comes from. I think of the idea of, what's the difference between contentment and happiness, right? Happiness and joy is something we can all search and seek for, but it's an ideal that only lasts for a little while, whereas contentment is something that lasts indefinitely. If we find contentment within work, and we, instead of searching for balance, we search for contentment within, and within our daily, what we do every day, all the bad days will come, good days will come, but overall, you're on the trajectory where you have a sense of joy from time to time, but you're not going to be overly depressed about work, and you understand that's part of the work, But if overall you find contentment within what you do every single day, you're going to have the stamina to keep going every day and do whatever it takes to get the job done. And again, it's the difference between a sprint and a marathon. Sprints are just fast and short, but then you're done with it. But if we're on this journey that's lifelong, I believe you got to find that contentment, and you spend so much hours of your day working, and you might as well be content with it as opposed to being depressed and discontent. So anyhow.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. And I think that's good. And I think that, what Ted is saying in that message, again, is really about us finding those things that we do enjoy, and that we do capture your time, and we want you to not be crushed or managed, to a point of, feeling like this is, hopeless. But this is a great opportunity for us. I have something I've taught for many years when I teach salespeople specifically, but it just says, are you designing a life, or are you just working a job? And there's a huge difference in that. Are you using this to design a life? And it talks about, in the book, work. It says our experience teaches us is toil, a stressor, a drainer of our energy. And if we're not careful, it can lead to a physical exhaustion, emotional emptiness, depression, and burnout. Now, we may have all been in positions before where those things have happened. And it's probably because we were not in, the right fit. And I can guarantee you there are many, many people out there going through the same, feelings right now, or same experiences with work. And it becomes a burden. And it's very work in and of itself, in the description, is a transaction, and we're compensated. Why are we compensated at work? What are we compensated with? Somebody give me an idea. What are we compensated with?
Primarily money.
Money. This is in general, that's what they're saying. And we're compensated with money. What are we compensated for?
Should be results. I think a lot of times it's time. It's like, well, just show up and do whatever, I've told you to push this button or do whatever. But I think where we'd be striving towards is an outcome and results, to say, I want this task accomplished, or these series of tasks, or I want this, I want to hand this whole project or this thing to you, or you can move up to more and more obscure results would be better, and then you get usually paid more. If it's to say, I want you to sit here and push the button every 3 minutes, that has a certain level of compensation, which is probably lower, versus saying, I want you to go build a company and figure it out and grow it and build a team and expand and change the world. Okay, that has a different compensation level, but I think we're paid for results. But a lot of
Yeah.
times we think we get confused and pay more attention to the time. Like, did you put, and work is the number one correlate with success. So it does take work. You're not going to work 20 hours and make a big impact. It just, there is exceptions, but by and large, you kind of have to put in the work. But that also doesn't mean we should get confused and equate it to say, therefore, I have to work 60 hours. When you ask the question, like, how much do we work? I think everyone's quiet, like, well, I don't dare say, like, what if it is 28 hours? And it shouldn't, I'd like to get to the point where it doesn't matter. It's like, but that's because we're not clear enough on the outcomes. But it's like, if I can do better work than you and I can do it in 28 hours, go me, right? And it shouldn't matter. It does a little bit still, and I get that. It does for me too. I'm to the point now of my career, I'm really, really busy and I'm behind, but I allocate less time to work stuff than I used to. And I allocate less time of my work to smart staffing, because I have, 10 other companies and other asset holdings and buildings and different stuff that I have to deal with. And so I allocate my time differently. But then you look at that and say, oh, well, he only spends X number of hours. But it's anyway, I'm kind of going on and on about nothing. But
No, I think that's really important. And there's a saying that says it's not how much time you put in, it's what you put into the time that matters. If it's the results that we are striving for. But the world tells us, hey, look, here's how many hours you have to work or more. And if you do, we're going to compensate you. The book says it's a bribe to tough it out. Okay. Here's your bribe money. Come in and work, this many hours and tough it out. This is just how work is. And what we're trying to accomplish with this chapter is that, we got to get away from that kind of mentality, when we do this. So there's
but I
this,
do think we still have, Carrie, I still think
yeah,
we have to embrace that a little bit, because let's say I turned off the pay. There's probably a few of you that if we just said, hey, pay's gone, we can't do it anymore, but we're still going to try to push on. I need your help. Now, everyone would have to go look for another job. Maybe Carrie wouldn't, because he's at near retirement and it's kind of planned to turn things off anyway. But probably everybody else would be like, I got to go work, so I got to go to another job. A few of you may stay and volunteer and say, well, I'm going to still help, but you'd have to fit it into your personal time now. And anyway, the point is, if we turned off the pay, everybody would leave, and so there is a bribe element in there, and it's okay. The To me, the notion and the magic is, okay, so I own you based on the bribe for X number of hours a week, or for a certain outcome. Like you have to do X because I'm paying you for that. And we have this social contract where I'm paying you money and you agree to do certain things. The magic to me is when we can capture people's hearts and minds and imaginations. That I can't buy from you. You have to choose to give me. You have to choose to give us your loyalty. You have to choose to give us your heart and your passion, and you have to choose to sit in bed at night and think of ways to recruit better. Think of ways to have your team operate more cohesively. Think of ways to deal with a difficult client. That's, sometimes it's like, oh, I can't get away from it. That's not good, and I get that. But I think it's the discretionary effort, the discretionary items that really, by having a strong culture, a strong team, all the stuff we're trying to do, it's to have us try to work smarter. But that bribe, that contract of saying I'm going to pay you for X, I don't think that goes away, and it really can't, because if it did, all of us would go away. And so then it becomes a function of, how do we capture the uncapturable? How do we capture the stuff that you have to volunteer and choose to give up, which I will just call discretionary effort?
yeah. And I think that's the important part, Ted, when we talk about this, is that, so I mean, yeah, there's a bribe, of course, there's a money thing, there's a transactional thing that's there, but how do we get to the transformational level? How do we, in the book it
Yeah,
says we
we
lose.
have to have a purpose. We have to have a why. Work has to have meaning. It's not just, I'm just going and putting in the hours. No, it's like, I love my team. I would, kind of the Navy SEAL stuff. I would take a bullet for them. So you darn well I'm going to show up. You darn well I'm going to give it my all. Or I love our mission. I love the people we serve. Or I love my clients. Or I love the learning and growing that's happening in me. This is like going to the gym. Going to the gym isn't fun. I don't care who you are. It sucks. But some people are like, that is that's the worst thing ever. And yet some people have a different meaning, and they're like, I feel so good. I feel invigorated. Same thing with eating good. Eating good is good for us. Some people love it and it makes them feel good. Other people say, that's terrible. I hate that. I hate to eat good. I want to eat junk food. And then some people do the opposite with junk food. It's the meaning that we give stuff, I think, that creates the experience. And so, and part of that is how you're treated. Part of that is, different things. But as a function of your team cohesiveness, your relationship with your manager, the overall global culture, your commitment and your alignment with the mission and the purpose of the company, and how clear we state that, and then your sometimes you got your own reasons, your commitments to your customers or to other things, or the people we serve are our associates. I'm trying to think of other businesses, what would be someone you serve, but you got your vendor side and your client side. I guess the associates are more on our vendor side, but your commitment to them. But something in there, or a combination of those, should give you meaning and purpose and a why that's more than the money. And then that starts to become really fulfilling. And that starts to make you want to capture more. I mean, there's sort of a devious method here by us. It's noble too. We have a lot of noble motivations, and it's to say, can I entice you? Can I make it worth your while to choose to volunteer and give us more than our stated contract?
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think that, it's so important to realize, again, this is the world talking. When we lose ourselves in work, and we rediscover ourselves in life, work-life balance. But that's, if we can learn how to change that and say, look, we can rediscover ourselves in work. It can have meaning, and those sorts of things. Then we've got the right opportunity. Then we start designing our life, or we go on the quest, as Kyle said, and rather than just having a job. So the point behind this chapter is, really discovering what that looks like. It talked about a guy named Miles, who was an anesthesiologist, and what did we learn from him and his experience as an anesthesiologist? What did you gather out of that story?
I found it fascinating, to be honest. This whole chapter was fascinating. And for us, more age folks on this call, you can understand that doctors today are not what they were 30, 40 years ago. It's not even close. And that chapter explained it very well, how the doctors and nurses, for that matter, are burned out. But Miles in particular, he actually enjoyed what he did. Like when he was talking about, how he has basically, life in his hands, that he could either, you got to keep that balance of keeping them alive, and getting their heart rate just at a certain rate to where you can revive them, things like that. But he actually really loved that part of his job. The part he hated was meeting with them after the follow-up visit. He says that caused him more stress than anything else. But the actual stress of keeping somebody alive while they're getting operated on and stuff like that, he actually fully enjoyed. But the other part of his job, he didn't, just because he had to interact. He didn't really care when it came down to it. It was the aftercare. So anyway, it was fascinating.
It was. Ashley?
I liked that his joy wasn't what we expected it to be. You expect doctors to get fulfillment from interacting with people and saving lives, and his was completely different. And I thought that was really fascinating, that he didn't line up with what people expected.
Yeah, which again, I find it interesting that by asking questions and digging into Miles' life, they were expecting something different, the purpose of helping people and, blah, 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 like similar things. But no, that wasn't it at all. He loved holding people's life just so narrowly that, and it makes a big difference. I was talking with a guy the other day. I have a neighbor who's an anesthesiologist right down the road from me, and I have another neighbor who had just gone into the hospital the other day to have his heart restarted because it's not rhythmic, it's not following the right pattern. And he said, he was asleep. They taped those paddles to him on the front and the back, and then they shock him and stop his heart, and then they restart it. The first time he was asleep, he said, the next time I woke up and I couldn't talk and I couldn't move, but I'm wide awake, and they shock me again while I'm wide awake. And then he says, then they did it a third time, and I was a little more out of it, but that one time felt like a horse kicking me in the chest. And the neighbor that's down the street happened to be part of this conversation, and he said, "You just got the wrong anesthesiologist." I've never had somebody wake up during, my thing. So again, this interesting how, this was their passion, how they can take people from alive to nearly dead and make sure that they are in that state for the right purpose. But it wasn't about, their life afterwards. It was about what they were able to do during that time period. So all of that was interesting to know that it was different than what they expected, like you said, Ashley, and not anywhere close. So, and who knows more, like, really the discovery behind this is that we could say, oh, Miles, you must really love your job because you have this purpose of saving people's lives or helping them, to live a better life afterwards. We tell him, what he loves most. And when it came out, it was like, no, Miles is the only one that knew what he really loved. Okay. It says he knows not only why he became a doctor and why he became an anesthesiast, but also that what specific aspects of being an anesthesiast he loves most. So if you examined yourself that way, has somebody else asked you those questions? We are going to capture a lot of your time during each day, and it is valuable. But do we really know you, and do we know our teams well enough to say this is why they do this? It's really about uniqueness. When we talk about this, it talks about that in the book. It's about the unique you that you are, and finding out what those things mean, and how to pull those out of our people. And love and work, matters most when we talk about this really important piece that we try and narrow it down to. So then it becomes, how do we do this? How do we get to that point? How do we discover from our team, but how do we discover even from ourselves? What are those things? So it talked about two things specifically, and this will be kind of our homework for next week. There are two things. Can you tell me what those two things are that we're supposed to kind of work on, Techie?
It's just figuring out what you love, right? What you love to do, what pushes you, and then try to figure out what you loathe, what you don't want to do, and whatnot. And you try to find more things that you do love, or at least 20%, and then weave that into your work. So
Yeah. So we've already stated that there's going to be tough days, tough hours, tough moments, tough weeks. Doesn't mean the whole life is, thrown out the window because of a few tough moments. And it doesn't say that you need to love or do what you love all day, every day, all day. And Techie, you just said it. What percentage helps to prevent burnout?
20%.
20%. If you can do what you love for 20% of your day, and we do want to look at this as every day for 20%. That's part of our Q12 questioning. Do I get a chance to do what I love every day? And if we can do that for 20% of our time, or we can do more, but imagine, at least 20%, it prevents the burnout and change. So that's really, an important part of what we're trying to discover in this chapter. There's another book written by the same group here. It's called Love at Work. And, I've been going through that book as well. Bringing love into work is kind of it's like, oh no, you can't bring love in. You can't love what you do. You've heard the statement, love what you do and never work another day the rest of your life. you can't bring those things into this. You got to be committed and disciplined, and those are all important pieces of what we do. But when we enjoy it, when we love what we do, when we find the things that we love, like Miles did, then it makes our things that are tougher more or easier for us to kind of go through. So we have loving and loathing. So as we talk about our assignment for next week, what we want to do is take some time and spend a little bit of time thinking about, as we go through our day, what are the things that I love doing? Kyle, I'm going to ask you this. Give me one thing that you love doing while working at Smart. What's one thing you love to do?
I love to work with others, and it's a lot kind of like Ashley Labram put, and seeing them be able to use a tool that I've created and that it really works, or teaching others. I really love going over concepts and things that are helpful to others, um, and just seeing that light up in a person. I don't know the words that Ashley used. She's really good with that, with the words there. But I love seeing that in people, and that they appreciate what they've just learned. I'd say that's probably my number one.
Okay, good. Thank you. Jason, what about you? You're in a different role than Kyle. You're not the HR person. You're in the sales side. What's one thing you love about what you do?
Yeah, my top thing that I love is to close a deal. Whenever we close a deal, that is a good day. It invigorates you. It gives you purpose of what, okay, it kind of finally came to fruition of the hard work that you did to get to that point. But I love the interaction. I love the changing perspective of what the client can see in us, and then actually filling that order gives me great satisfaction to know that I'm bringing income into the business. That's what I love.
Okay, so that's something you love. Now I'm going to throw something else at you, and maybe you'll answer it differently than I expect. But do you love going out and knocking doors every day? Do you just love going out and knocking, all day long, knocking doors? Is that your passion?
No, it's not.
But that's something that gets you what?
Results. It gets you the clients. If
It
you
gets
don't
you the
do it,
clothes, yeah.
it's
The
a
thing you
necessary
love.
evil. Yeah.
Yeah. So something that you don't necessarily enjoy, but you do it because it gets you to the love that you have. So I think that's really good. John, again, you're in a different role than the first two comments. Can you tell me something that you love about what you do?
Well, because Jason has to go and knock on doors, and he hates that. But when he does something he likes, which is closing, allows me to go ahead and go talk to this client without having to do all the knocking.
Yeah.
I love talking to clients and figuring out, solutions to their problems. And I have it easy because I don't have to convince them to open the door for me. I just open it. But that's what I like. And I like working with people, having a team, whether being a part of or leading one. Those different roles have different fulfillments for me. If you're part of a team, then I love the synergy and how the group can come up with ideas. If I'm leading a team, then it's all about it. My enjoyment at that point becomes how do they work together, and I love it when they come up with a solution. So that's what I love about this job.
Okay.
That's basically it.
Yeah. So we still have a few more minutes. Kyle, I'm going to, or wait, hang on just a second. Maddie?
I was just going to say my favorite part, and I've seen it a lot lately, is candidates coming back and saying, thank you so much for finding me a job. We actually had a candidate text me and Jessica last week and say, hey, can I take you out to lunch next week? You landed me my dream job. I've been here for a week and it's amazing and I couldn't have done it without you guys. And I just feel like for all the bad interactions you have with candidates, sometimes you have those amazing candidates that just really makes it worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And those are fantastic experiences. And I think that, you know, we all have those things. I think we need to look at those. So now I'm going to ask you another question, and maybe it's harder, maybe you won't want to say it, and I'm not pressuring you into it. But Kyle, can you think of one thing in your job that you loathe? What's one thing that you go, oh man, if I could just pass that on to somebody else, that would really make my life better?
I loathe legal challenges against the company. That's one thing we certainly could see less of. And, you know, whenever someone sues us on a workers' comp claim and those kind of things, I just think, wow, we could definitely have less of these and I would be happier with fewer.
Okay. Yeah, good. Jason, what's one thing you loathe?
I loathe emails. I think it's the most ineffective way to communicate with clients, but yet we have to still do it. But yeah, I loathe when I have to sit in front of a computer and send emails.
Okay. John, what's one thing you loathe in your, you know, in your current role?
I would say, I don't know. I'm with Jason a little bit on that one, but clients that no matter what I try to do cannot satisfy. That is, you know,
Okay.
I attack it from different angles. I bring in other people to kind of think of things, and it's like, wow, what can I do? that part. Once I figure it out, love it. But before that, hate it.
And there are those clients that we'll never satisfy, and so I think that's a good thing. So here's our deal, you guys. Let me just kind of finish up with one more little sentence I'm going to read. Our job is filled with activities, and it says to think of these activities as your red thread. Your work is made up of many activities, many threads, but some of them feel as though they're made of particularly powerful material. These red threads are the activities that you love. And your challenge is to pinpoint them so you can ensure that next week you'll be able to recreate them, refine them, and add to them. So, Jason, if you love closing deals and you figure out how to, really work those red threads and figure out how to eliminate more of the loathing part, more of the email thing, let's say, you could spend more time closing deals. How much better would life be for you?
That'd be fantastic.
And Ted, if Jason was able to close more deals because of these red threads, would that bring better results and give us, more impact to the company? That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So doing the things we enjoy, at least for part of each day, is so important for us. Having those opportunities. So this week, our challenge, and we may spend a couple of weeks kind of doing this and working it out, but is to take a piece of paper, or a computer or whatever you write your notes down in, and start jotting down. Think of the week, as you're out there making calls, as you're out there working with clients, as you're out there, working on HR stuff, write down those things. Gosh, I love doing this. I enjoy this so much. I'm going to write one down right now. And I love being right here in front of you guys. I love sharing these messages. I love learning with you guys. I think this is fantastic. this is an important part. And then being able to see, improvement on all of us as we go out and use these things. So write down the things that you love, recognize them as you're going through your week, and then write down those things and be honest and say, man, I really don't like this. It doesn't mean it's going to change or it's, you're not going to be doing them, but how can we make it so that we are doing more of the things that we enjoy and love that will bring the greatest result to the company and reward to you, and do less of those things that we loathe, or shift those things to other people that do love them, and make a difference. So write down those things, be honest about it, be clear. Here's what I love, here's what I loathe, and it will open up things to you. Think about, your strengths and talents. You just took the assessment, and how do these things fit? And you can start looking at those loves and loathes and matching them up with your talents and strengths that you just took, and you'll see, a really good comparison between them and where we're at with those. So that's the homework. I know that there's a holiday in here, but we may take a couple of weeks to kind of really work on, jotting down the things I love and jotting down the things I loathe, so we can start having that more and more in our, in our life. One couple of more things before we end. So we in general, it's your responsibility to take seriously the uniqueness of your uniqueness and design the most intelligent, the most honest, and the most effective ways to volunteer it to the rest of us. We, your teammates, your family, your community, your company, are waiting for you to share with us your unique loves. We're here for you. We're here for but a few short years. Please don't make us wait too long. So it's really important for us to do that. Now let me read one last thing, and then we will close. Hang on just a second. Get over here. So this is from Ted again. He says, I see you as a person. I see your creativity. I see your heart. I see your potential. I want to help those grow, not get managed or crushed. Okay. So that's the goal. Our goal is personal progression in the company and building an economic engine to fund that personal progression. We don't want your dreams. We don't want those things to be crushed. We want you to be able to enjoy what you do here and excel beyond, going from ordinary to extraordinary is what we really are striving for. And we can do that, even though, again, we're going to have challenges in our job and hard things we have to do. We're going to have to clean the toilet at home, and wash the dishes, but there's still greatness in what we're trying to do. So we want to see your uniqueness come out. And the only way we can see that is if you know what it is, and then we can start using it at least 20% every day. At least 20% every day. Okay, so next week you got your assignment, and I just want to take a look here. So the next week is really kind of a leadership thing. And Kyle, I kind of have you on this list, as a leader, as someone who has followers, how to have discussions around performance reviews. We've talked about the star chart, and we can have a further discussion on that. Are you okay with that, Kyle? Okay. So next week we'll be into that, but let me just see if there was a. So you're going to read chapter 9, leadership is a thing. Okay. That's lie number 9. Leadership is a thing. And how we kind of base around that. So read chapter 9, start writing down your loves and your loathes. Let's start using our loves at least 20% every day and see what kind of a difference it makes. And it'll be part of the survey. It'll be part of the survey because you'll be able to say, hey, I'm using these things, and here's what difference it's making in my life and in the lives of those that I'm coaching. So, all right. Any other last comments or questions before we jump off? Nope. So Tuesday's a holiday. And wish all of you a safe and wonderful 4th of July. You know, I just hope you enjoy the time and then come back and let's have fun here at work and really enjoy, you know, what we're doing. Makes a difference on your family life as well. So have a great weekend, everybody. Take care, and we'll talk to you all real soon. Thank you.
Both.
Thank you, Carrie.